The working day as a salaried district judge rarely looks the same at the end of it as to how you expected it to look at the beginning of it. The lists are generally very busy and can frequently have maybe 25 or 30 cases in them if it's a short appointments list. I deal with housing cases, I deal with small claims, insolvency, family cases often, particularly private law children. I now have a ticket in public law, which means that I do a lot of child protection work, and that is very high volume and quite high intensity as well.
The variety of work is fairly constant, particularly evident on a small claims day, where we can have up to 8 or 10 hours worth of small claims hearings in front of us, ranging from anything from a dispute over a pair of trainers, which I have mentioned, of fairly low value, to a problem with a kitchen installation of several £1,000s, onto a road traffic accident involving a damaged bumper, and anything where there is a dispute. We have disputes about wedding photographs, about a failure to provide proper service by an accountant, for example, and all those can come in one day, in one list. So therefore you've got this mental gymnastics of chopping and changing topics, and also what you have, of course, is some of those cases involving professional representatives, solicitors, barristers, legal executives, and others involving litigants in person, and sometimes one of each in that particular case. So again, the type of person you're dealing with adds to the variety of the type of case you're hearing.
In terms of today, just by way of example, you can see that I have very much a working desk. I've case managed, just looking at my pile today, 4 fast-track personal injury cases. I've substituted some claimants in housing cases. I have in my list a 2-day public law case that's likely to have to adjourn. That means I'll be available for the emergency applications this afternoon, of which there are bound to be at least 2. I've also dealt with some Tomlin orders. I've written 2 letters to children whom I had dealings with last week in terms of making decisions for their upbringing going forward. And I also have case managed a case which has been transferred up from the south of the country, where the children have moved up here. My list this morning didn't bear much relation to that, and my list tomorrow, given that my case today has resolved, is likely to be a back-to-back small claims list. At the moment I have no idea what those cases are, but I will be given a list at the conclusion of today, and I'll have the opportunity to read through those files tonight or when I come into work tomorrow.
So my working pattern is that I sit between 2 different courts. I do 50% of my time in each court in 3-month slots, and I find that works really well. I'm lucky they're both really easy commute for me. The big change from private practice, of course, in terms of my working pattern is fixed hours, or more or less fixed hours. I am in control of my hours to some extent, in a way that I just wasn't in private practice. And so the work is demanding, difficult, and there is pressure in the work. But when I leave, I find that it's easier to leave it behind than it was when I was in the office. And I found, for me, that makes a much better work-life balance, in that when I'm at home, I'm properly at home, and the days when I used to take files on holiday with me are gone.
Well, I'm based at Cardiff Civil Justice Centre, which is one of the largest trial centres in Wales. It deals with both civil work and family work. And my typical day, I suppose, would be to get into the courtroom fairly early, probably at about 7:45. I then read the files for that particular day. Sometimes I will have taken bundles home with me the previous evening to do some preparatory work. The list, and by that I mean parties start to come before us at 10 o'clock, and then we have a 10 through till 1 o'clock session. We break for lunch, and then there's a 2 to 4 o'clock session. Cases often, to be fair, overrun, so we'll often sit beyond 4 o'clock. And of course, even when parties leave the court, that isn't the end of our day, because there's still quite a lot of work to do after parties have left in preparing for the next day, and indeed dealing with matters that have arisen that day.
So one of the real advantages of this job is the variety of the work. Today I've dealt with trial work. I've dealt with 2 fast-track trials today. Last week I was dealing with short appointments. On a possession list, you can do 60 hearings, very short hearings in one morning. And it is the variety that really keeps your mind alive with this job. You aren't exactly certain, even though you have a list, what's going to happen from one day to the next. There'll be reasons why other judges can't take a list. There may be a deputy that we've not been able to find one day, and you end up with more cases in your list than you'd expected. And it is the very different nature of the work day to day that keeps this job fascinating.